We're here with Christopher Bean,
Thank you, thank
former
you.
candidate for Constituency 35. Welcome. First of all, it's been a month or so since the general election, and one can perhaps assume you've had some time to decompress and reflect on your recent electoral candidacy. Which aspects of the political process stands out in retrospect for you?
Well, definitely I'll have to say canvassing was the highlight of that process, meeting all of the constituents of 35 and, connecting roots, because at the end of the day, I do have grassroots in this and, this community. So being able to identify that, oh, you're so-and-so's son and you're so-and-so's nephew, that was enlightening. And it's an experience that I do wish that every Bermudian could have. And I do envy a certain time period and where that essence of community, where everybody knew their neighbor, was, abundant.
Okay. Now, so since which, as you've gained popularity and notoriety, so to speak, how has your life been impacted post-election?
So I will say, and I'm sure that a lot of the candidates would agree with this, but you can't even walk down the street anymore without being pulled to the side. And I definitely enjoy it. A lot of words of encouragement to keep going. I will say that it has highlighted a lot of the different initiatives as well, especially in my capacity or within mental health. A lot of the rooms that I have gone into, they already recognize who I am before I go in, and that has had some positive experience or positive feedback, I guess you can say. So,
okay. So one might say your stature has been somewhat enhanced?
yeah, I guess a bit, but at the end of the day, I'm a servant to the people. So.
Yes, indeed. Now, by the fact that you did not win, some might describe it as a failed bid. How might you refer to your candidacy and your inability to actually get elected?
Yeah. So I started off. I'm fairly young. I'm 25 years old. So I like to say that it is a race, but it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So this is a long-term investment that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be out here engaging. So although I was not successful this time, I have had my feet wet. I know all of the different processes, and I do know every single person around this constituency now. Although, I have previously known them in the past, they've been reintroduced to me in this capacity. So I will say that although I was unsuccessful, that is not to say that I'm not going to keep on going at it until I do get in.
Do you have a plan for continued involvement in the political process?
Yes, so I definitely do. I believe that continued involvement is important, and it really will determine who is actually in it for the betterment of their people. I'll say just the other day when the House returned in session, me and my brother were both there. We sat in, and it was a great experience, just to hear the initial remarks and, pretty much see how things were run. I definitely enjoyed it, and I will say that it's going to be interesting. I think that there is opportunity for independent involvement. At the end of the day, we have freedom of speech. So whenever policy is put out there, I do have autonomy to make remarks on it or suggestions and different things of that. I do plan on consulting or opening up my door to consult with individuals that were elected if they do want my input on how I would pretty much address some of Bermuda's current situations.
So you do still believe that independent candidates can be a viable options down the line?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that the results of this election, although it was called quick and we had to rush to it, I think that it does show a lot, even considering the fact that I was only pretty much canvassing for 4 weeks or so, and I was still able to garner a decent amount or a decent percentage of the voting population. I think what Bermuda needs is consistency in terms of their independent candidates being out there, being advocates for them, and being in the community. It's not necessarily what you do when everybody's eyes are on you, but it's what you do when people are looking away.
Okay. Now, of course, we have an official opposition, which is now held by the OBA, or One Bermuda Alliance. How can you, as an independent, hold the government to account as the opposition is charged with?
Yeah. So I think that accountability comes in many ways. One being a representation of how, a member of that, or an individual of that in that specific area should hold themselves. Also being involved. I still think that although, like I said before, I wasn't elected, I still have a voice. I still have freedom of speech. I can still talk or suggest different policies. I can consult with my constituents and raise private member bills also. And I think that that's something that we shouldn't push to the side. It's important to stay engaged. And it is important if you have a good idea, no matter who is in power, no matter who is the opposition, share that big idea if it is, ultimately to better Bermuda.
Okay. Now, you're a mental health professional. Mental health has been raised as something that is critical, a critical debilitating factor going on in society. How do you plan to further highlight that?
Yeah, so I currently work at Dignity House, which is the only community-based rehabilitation center in Bermuda that deals with both mental health and substance abuse. I'm avidly working with that team to kind of bridge some of the gaps that we're seeing in our current system and making sure that Bermuda is, or the mental health aspect of Bermuda is looked at in a holistic view. I think that we need better integration or access to cares, and a lot of the times we run into financial barriers to access mental health services because oftentimes they are the most expensive doctors, right? So we at Dignity House have actually strived and made efforts to become the most affordable mental health service provider on island.
Right.
That's privately run.
Are you finding that perhaps people are more willing to come forward with regard and expose their mental health issues and to talk about them and so have them treated?
I do think that we're heading in the right direction. There's still a lot more work to be done. I'll be completely honest when I say that. Stigma breaking is a giant, and I think that it does happen from one person at a time. I think that a lot of people are more inclined to come out and talk about it. I would say that social media has played a part in that, shed and highlight on the more common diagnoses, for example, depression or anxiety. So if we keep on going in that direction, we might have more people coming out and being open about more complex diagnoses like schizophrenia or bipolar. So a lot of work to be done, but I think we're heading down the right path.
Okay. Now, you're a young person, and there's issues of antisocial behavior, gang violence,
Yes.
and the like. Now, just prior to the election, we had the Minister of National Security, Minister Michael Weeks, unveil what the government describes as a comprehensive violence reduction strategy. Can this plan be effective?
So I will have to say, in a sense, to keep it plain and simple, only time will tell. I think that we need to analyze the data and the statistics that have been either produced or wait till those data and statistics come out and see if previous strategies that were implemented have been successful. I think that needs to be brought to the public so that we can measure the success of this new plan that might be put forward or implemented. I think that Bermuda is at a crucial point in terms of antisocial behavior and crime, and we need to take very aggressive steps in eliminating some of those practices that we see going on right now.
Okay. Now, the current justice model, seems to emphasize punishment. Now, government is talking about a more restorative justice model. What are your thoughts on that?
So, as you know, I'm all for rehabilitation, and I think that is a great direction. That's what we kind of practice at Dignity House too. It's not necessarily about just getting the person settled or just returning them to baseline, but it's ensuring that they have the tools necessary to be a citizen and a contributing citizen back into society. So I believe that if we rearrange that model and we start looking at prison reform in a restorative way rather than punishment only, then we'll get a lot more individuals that come back into the society, have the tools and the skills to work jobs, rent apartments, and contribute back into our society.
Okay. So now we're also in the midst of ongoing educational reform. How can that blend or mesh with restorative justice? How can those things blend with each other?
So I think education reform, it's interesting because it's one of those situations where no one shoe fits all. I think that when we're talking about education, we need to make sure that, yes, create a template, but at the end of the day, you do have to tailor certain things to each individual to make sure that they succeed, because you can't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree or a monkey's ability to swim. I believe that strong work release programs that give individuals or students real life experience early on and allow them to actually see what career avenues they might want to pursue is important. That happened for me, for example. In high school, I was lucky enough to get my CNA certification, and that kind of pushed me in the direction of mental health, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do early on. So I think paired with a strong work release and community buy-in as well, all of the local businesses trying to get involved, I think that we could really make a good change in the right direction.
Yes, indeed. And might all of these things help to impact behavioral patterns as well?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, according to the most recent actuarial review, the Social Insurance Pension Fund is scheduled to run out of funds in 2042. You're a young person. There may not be anything left for you in terms of nesting. What are your thoughts on that?
So I definitely think that based off of, I think that we need to take, like I said before, some aggressive steps to fix this issue. We have an aging population, and we do have individuals that contribute to that pension fund leaving the island because our economy just isn't functioning the way it should in that sense. So even though that number is what it is right now, if we look at it in a year from now or two, it might have sped up because we have people fleeing and we have people getting older. So just making sure that we are aggressive in the steps that we take to actually fix that issue and reverse some of the damage that has been done.
Yes, indeed. Christopher, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.